Here's a great example of how, if we know how the SAT operates, what its kind of rules are, its style rules in particular, this is an easy question. We're just kind of going with what we know the SAT wants from us. So in a way, it's kind of like follow instructions. They're unwritten instructions, but they're there. We know from practice that they're there. I'll instead just call this another example of where we kind of need to predict the question. We need to know what this is testing so we can get our brain on the right wavelength. And so style questions have their own wavelength where we're supposed to trust our instincts. So maybe a couple of these answers sound good to you. And if that's the case, then fine. We still need another reason to kind of sort through them. And so this is definitely vocabulary, right? All these things mean the same thing. So it's not about the definition, it's about the usage. Why would we use one over the other? Well, remember, words tend to fall on a spectrum. There are words that are too slangy, words that just we can maybe say them with our friends, text them, but we wouldn't really put them in an academic paper. So something like getting all worked up. Yeah, like you might describe your friend as getting all worked up about a bad grade, but we're not going to say that pilots are getting all worked up about the presence of drones. Like, that's not acceptable for an essay that you would write for school. So that's too slangy. I would also say stew over is kind of slangy, right? Like stew, it's very just kind of like an idiom, like a just a folksy phrase, I guess. Like if you're stewing, you're kind of like think of a stew in a pot. It's like bubbling. It's kind of boiling, and so that's what that phrase means. And so that's also kind of slangy. The pilots are not like getting like angry about the drones. It's just a weird phrase. On the other side of the spectrum, words that are pedantic are too fancy, right? This is another instinct that a lot of us have for some reason, and we have to get rid of it, not just for the SAT, but just for writing in general. Don't try to sound smart. When you sound smart, you sound stupid. So we don't want to use words that are just like so weird and bizarre that like the people reading your essay wouldn't know what you're talking about. So just look at choice A. A pilot is experiencing disquiet regarding the presence of drones. Would you really ever say that? That's so weird. What's wrong with you? So that's a good example of like, by trying to sound smart, you sound really stupid. If you talk like that, people would just like think you're kind of crazy or that you're stupid. So when you try to sound smart, you sound stupid. And this absolutely sounds really weird. How many times in the past year have you used the word disquiet? Probably zero. However, you've probably used the word worry a ton. And that's because that's an academic word. It's a word that people know what it means. It's acceptable for academic essays because it has a lot of varieties of use. It fits in a lot of situations. That's what academic words are. So this need to use a more advanced word is not a good thing, because a lot of times those fancier words don't have general definitions. They have very specific definitions that we can only use in these precise situations, which is why you never see those words. And so the odds that the SAT is giving us that precise situation are just as slim as if you tried to use it in the real world. So avoid that temptation. If something sounds fine and looks pretty good and is a word that, people use pretty regularly, then you're probably fine. It's an academic word. You can use it and just pick it and move on. Don't try to write the fanciest essay you can. Just write it like you'd say it, and you're probably fine.